Dave, I think a lot is at stake for Joe Burrow this season. I believe Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the National Football League. Second, I believe only Patrick Mahomes is better. Josh Allen fans, I hear you loud and clear. Lamar Jackson fans, I hear you loud and clear. I believe Joe Burrow is better than everybody not named Patrick Mahomes. But where I am at, Dave Helman, with Joe Burrow is it's feast or famine. Joe Burrow is just as likely to finish the season injured as he is to finish the season in the AFC Championship game. It is either an A grade or he doesn't even attend the class. So where I'm at with Joe Burrow now is you have to show up and you have to play the whole season, and you got to go back to where you are whenever you're healthy. To me, he has a lot to prove because you can't be a top 2 player in football or an absentee. At least be present. The best ability is availability. So, Dave, Joe Burrow's great. There's nobody that I think is greater not named Patrick Mahomes. He truly is great. But when I think about the fact that he's missed 13 games in 4 seasons, he's nearly missed a season in 4 seasons, that has to matter. What's he got to prove to you?
I think this conversation, it reveals a fascinating idea of like perception versus reality, right? And I think the Cincinnati Bengals have a lot to prove. My answer is just, it's less about Joe Burrow. You and I disagree about this. It's about the Bengals and having a chance to capitalize on this window where they have all of this talent before it changes. But it is interesting. We talked about this in our pre-production meeting. Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa have missed a very similar amount of time over their careers. But I don't, and I think a lot of people don't, view Joe as an injury-prone player. He tore up his knee as a rookie in a forgotten Bengals season. Jamar Chase wasn't there yet. That team was not serious. Since the Bengals have become serious, he missed the second or the last third of last season with a wrist injury. We'll see how he responds. I'm not worried about it. And, Joy, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think you are either. Like, I'm not worried about Joe being healthy. I'm worried about the Bengals capitalizing on a year where T. Higgins is in the last year of his contract. I'm worried about a year, the Bengals capitalizing when, again, Jamar Chase, he's eligible for a contract extension. You better believe that contract is going to start with a 3. The Bengals are about to find out how hard it is to surround a quarterback like Joe with talent. And, I mean, to prove my point, if we could bring it up, the Bengals need to capitalize because this is their future. Joe Burrow is costing them $29.7 million this year. That number starts to balloon after this season. Can you afford to keep T? Probably not. How big is Jamar's contract going to be? Probably very big. Trey Hendrickson has already expressed dissatisfaction with his contract. This could be the Bengals' last best chance before they have to proverbially take that step back. We've talked about this with the Bills. Look at Buffalo right now and say, ooh, Josh Allen's got to do a lot with a little, doesn't he? That's the future that could be facing the Cincinnati Bengals. So this is a huge year for Joe Burrow because it could be his last really good chance before the financial realities of the NFL set in. Me personally, I'm not worried about his longevity or his durability. He fought through a calf injury at the beginning of last year, which you could say it's bad that you could, but he played through it.
Yeah,
he didn't,
but not well.
Sure, but he was there. He gutted through it and he got back on track. I'm not worried about Joe's durability. I'm worried about the financial realities of what's facing the Bengals if they don't get over the hump soon.
Well said.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything to prove. Who else is giving Patrick Mahomes smoke?
I mean,
it's one name. It's Joe Burrow. There's no one else. And there's nobody else that's giving him problems. So the drop-off for me would have to be substantial. Now, if he's injured for a certain amount of games again this year and affects their postseason success and whatever, then I'm willing to have that conversation because he has missed some time. But as far as what he has to prove to me, when he's healthy, they're in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So when we have the health conversation and a player is habitually hurt, the question becomes, what's it worth for the highs? Okay, well, the highs are the AFC Championship game, Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl,
and the lows are you miss some games you have, and the year's off. So I would take that. I would take the highs and a year off over mid forever. Like, that is an exchange I'm willing to make. So when it comes to Joe Burrow, I know what he's capable of, not just as a quarterback, but them as a team have been able to give the current dynasty problems. They're the only ones who have been able to do that. That is significant to me. So I'm with Dave. I do think that any team that pays their quarterback eventually runs into the wall of how do we keep everyone here? How do we maneuver this money? How are we able to keep the great pieces that we put around him there to help him have success? Because as we know, no matter how good you are, this is still a team game. And unless you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, it's going to be really hard to continue to replace these incredibly great players. So I don't think he has anything to prove this year. If he's healthy all season long, I think they're going to have a great year. And to me, his highs are too high to worry that much about his lows.
Where you at, 2-5?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not worried about what's he have to prove this season. I know how good he is. When he's healthy, you know he's going to deliver. She talked about it, AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. That's what he does. And I still think he's a top 3 quarterback. A lot of these other guys is kind of injury prone, like a Tua. I think a Tua is good, but like for you to be hurt that much, you're not that good, right? And I look at, because I know he likes Tua. He no, but I'm saying,
Be careful. Be careful.
I think Tua is good, but when I look at the difference between Joe Burrow and him, is like Joe Burrow is that good. He's that much better. Where I'm okay with taking that risk from the injuries that he's had. Right, and once he bounces back, it's always a good season after he comes back from injury. So I'm betting on Joe Burrow. I think he have a phenomenal year. I think hopefully this be, well, not hopefully, but depending on what happens with Higgins, right? He's going to need him, but Joe's that good where if Jamar's is number 1, he could find a young draft pick to take over that second role.
Yeah. The question, though, for you, left side of the table, because, Joy, I know you preach oftentimes, you're big on consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Don't show up one day and don't show up the other. Joe Burrow isn't consistent because what you said, Joy, what Shady both said is when he's out there, if he's out there. These are big contingencies, when and if. He missed 6 or 7 games this past season. Obviously, he missed 6 or 7 games this rookie season. So given the fact that at this table we're big on consistency and I am big on consistency, I'm big on availability, how are we overlooking it? I know the highs are high, but objectively speaking, he's not present often enough comparatively.
I'm sort of with Dave. Like, we know what happened the first year. Like, he did get hurt, but we know why he got hurt. We know what was going on with that team. So, yes, he did get hurt. Yes, he missed the final 6 games of the season, got hurt in week 11. Certainly got hurt in week 11. His wrist got hurt in week 11 this year. So, essentially, at the end of the season, for 2 years, he hasn't been available. I'm with you on consistency, but when he is available, his highs are way better than people who are constantly available. Like, we have to balance it here. Like, we've got to apply some reason. Yes, would we all have preferred that Joe Burrow be healthy all season long last year? Yes. Do we always want our best available to play and be out there? Of course. You want to be able to count on this position particularly, especially when you've already paid them. I hear all of those things. But if you're telling me here, you can have this player that's always available, you're gonna, maybe make the playoffs and lose in week 1, and like you're gonna win some regular season games, or you can have this player who's spectacular and he's gonna miss some games, but when he is available, you're gonna be in the AFC Championship game of the Super Bowl. I'll take the latter every time. How could you not? Because you could be available and miss the playoffs. You could be available and have a mid-level season.
I guess if you're Joe, the conversation for me with Joe is if you're that good, the only way to stay atop the mountain is to keep fighting.
Sure.
It's to keep fighting. It's to keep fighting. Dave, you brought up the graphic of, they've got the 4-year window. You can't afford to miss another year of that window due to injury.
If he gets hurt this year, then this conversation changes, and I will agree with you. And you're not going to like this because I don't have anything to back me up. I don't care about the rookie year injury. Remember, that was a team that was so bad that we spent the year debating if Joe should even let them draft him. That was a real thing.
But that's biased, Dave.
It's not.
It's biased to me because I don't care about this injury because the O-line, you know how many bad O-lines there are, particularly for rookies? You know how bad Justin Fields' O-line was?
The reason that he got hurt was his fault, his rookie year?
I'm saying when you get hurt, we don't say whose fault it is. Yeah. Like, we're not like, hey, it wasn't your fault though, big dog. Like, these aren't real conversations.
What about this, since we don't want to pay attention to the fact that he had no offensive line whatsoever? And people were saying he should not go there because of exactly what happened. And in fact, when he did get hurt, everyone was like, see, that's why he shouldn't have gone.
I'm saying I've never engaged in that dialogue.
Okay, well, lots of other people did. I did.
It was a real
conversation. Let me tell you like this. That's not a conversation that, like, in training rooms, hey, big dog, it wasn't your fault, man. You know what I'm saying? You had a bad O-line.
Bro, I mean, I love it funny, but, like, come on. Like, he got hurt because his line was bad? Like,
I'm just saying that's not a real dialogue.
He got sacked a record number of times.
He also, he got, sandwiched on top of a guy by another guy. He got demolished.
I'm not saying y'all are wrong.
Okay, so let's say it's not his fault.
I've never heard nobody.
Okay, I'm telling you, just trust me on this one. Trust me. And I could be wrong about the sacks, but Andy, let me know. Let's just call it his rookie year. Do we do that?
Like throwing out his rookie season?
Yeah.
I can't do it, but I see how you want to. Like, it's just not something you can really do.
So you think that Joe Burrow is injury prone?
Yes. Objectively speaking, he's injury prone. He's missed the same amount, he started the same amount of games as Tua, and Tua's injury prone. So we don't count, you know how bad Tua's teams were. Like, you know about Tua's situation where his coaching was bad. He didn't have much receiver help. His line was bad. His O-line coach was out there like snorting coke. Tua's whole situation was bad. But we don't say, well, you know what, Tua, that's a Tua. No, he got hurt. He'd be hurt.
Why are we talking about Tua?
Yeah, also,
Joe
Tua
Burrow has
hasn't
been to a
achieved.
Super Bowl and an AFC Championship game, and he beat Patrick Mahomes to do that. Why are we talking about Tua? We don't need to talk about Tua.
I'm only talking about injuries. Now, if y'all are saying that he is injury prone, but it's worth it because when he's available, it's that good, that's more accurate.
Of course, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's more accurate than to say he's just not injury prone.
I don't think he's injury prone.
I don't think he's injury prone. I think, regardless of who you want to blame for it, I think it was a very understandable thing that happened to him. And what did the Bengals do when they realized who he was and what he was capable of? They've been throwing talent at that offense ever since.
And what did he go into last year with? A calf. That he did on the first day of training camp.
He didn't miss it.
So I guess my question is, what is it that he needs to prove this year? He needs to stay healthy for a season? Because he's done that.
That's where I would be at. Like, you got to stay healthy and do what you've been doing. Like, to me, it's the same conversation we've had about other quarterbacks that are really talented, but they get hurt. It's like, stay healthy and ball. That's the only question I have. Only question.
He's done that multiple times.
He has, but the same amount of times he's done it, he's done the opposite.
I hate to live up to my reputation and bring Dak back into it, but like, is Dak injury prone? Dak missed most of a season with his leg injury. He came back and hurt the calf. Yep. It hurt his 21 season. Is he injury prone?
Yes.
I don't think. I disagree.
But here's what it is, though, Dave. Again, I don't think you get a second chance at a first impression. Dak's first impression was he's always healthy. Carson Wentz's first impression was he's always hurt. But if you looked at Wentz and Dak through their first 5 years, Dak ended up missing more games than Wentz. But Wentz is forever injury prone and Dak isn't. To me, of course, Dak was injury prone. Bruh, he missed 11 games with the leg, and then he came back and he did the thumb, and then he did the calf in there.
Or do just most people get injured in a violent
100% probability.
1,000%. I'm living proof to it. But then when you look at the dudes like Jalen Hurts, who's missed, I think, 2 games. Like, when you look at Josh Allen, Josh don't miss no games. I think Pat's missed 4 games. I think you were there when Pat did it. I think it was a QB sneak. He messed up his knee. I think Pat missed 4 games. So when I look at the other quarterbacks who we put in those top 5, top 7 conversations.
Right, but who would you take right now? Would you take Josh Allen or would you take Joe?
I'm taking.
Would you take Jalen Hurts or would you take Joe?
I'm taking Josh Allen.
Okay, but you would put Joe maybe 3?
Yeah, he's my favorite best
Joe.
Yeah.
Real quick, one more.
Would you take Tua or would you take Joe?
Taking Joe.
I want to take Tua.
How much further are we going to go?
I'm always taking Joe, but that's why, to me, this conversation I found fascinating because, like, how much longer can I take Joe despite injury?
Hey, if Josh was getting hurt, would it be his fault or would it be like, how would that work?
Josh almost doesn't. Josh is a superhuman. I don't even know what to do with that.
Dave, last question.
We did all this with Lamar, too. Lamar missed chunks of 2 seasons.
Yep.
Is he really worth all that money if he can't stay on the field? And he won an MVP. If Joe gets hurt this year, I'll text you right away. Be like, you got me, all right? But I'm just not worried about it, and I don't think
I hope it doesn't happen.
Is justified. Yeah, absolutely.
Joe's a baller.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.